Hi, welcome back. It's Dr. Adam Jaffe. A really important topic I'd like to discuss with you today, and I get questions about it all the time, is heartworm preventative and flea and tick medication. First, we'll talk about heartworm medication. Heartworm disease is transmitted by mosquitoes, and what happens is the mosquito can bite your dog or your cat for that matter, and that mosquito will then transmit what are called microfilaria. Over time, that will become different larval stages and eventually will end up as heartworms. The reason we're called heartworms is because they tend to lodge in the heart of your pet, and that can cause serious risks, not only for potentially throwing clots, but also for causing heart failure as well. In dogs, they tend to matriculate all the way up to adult worms, and they can get anything from a single worm to multiple worms in their heart. And that being the case, it is much more risky and much more expensive to treat a positive adult heartworm dog than it is to keep your pet on preventative. So as a general rule in our area, and anything I speak about now really relates to Montgomery County, whether you're in Rockville, Poolesville, Bethesda, we're in Montgomery County, and those issues, or anywhere in the state of Maryland for that matter, apply to that. So I recommend that your pet be on a heartworm preventative all year round. And some people will say, well, the mosquitoes in our area die off at a certain period of time, so why do I need them from, say, November to March? And that is a valid point as far as the preventative, but the other thing that these preventatives have in them is the ability to treat intestinal parasites, hookworms, roundworms, whitworms, all parasites that your pet can get. And if you have them on a preventative, you can control these infestations and make sure that they're not shedding them in their stool. Some of these hookworms and roundworms, some of these are what we call zoonotic, meaning that they can be passed to you or I, to little kids, as well as to geriatric people, because if they are shedding the eggs and it's getting their stool, if somehow some of that stool gets on you and you're just not aware of it on a microscopic basis, and then you somehow manage to ingest it, you can get sick from it. So I strongly recommend heartworm preventative all year round. Next, flea and tick medication. Fleas are still, we're right now, in our weather pattern in this area in the county or in Maryland, it tends to stay relatively mild. Even if it gets cold, it has to get really, really cold for the fleas to die off. And having a flea infestation in your house is something you don't want. If you have a lot of carpeting or rugs or furniture, those fleas are going to lay eggs, and the larval and pupal stages are going to burrow down in your carpet, and then they're just going to keep coming out over time. So having your animal on a flea preventative all year round is very important. Lastly, ticks. We see a lot of Lyme disease in our area, which is caused by the deer tick. If you've been around Montgomery County, you know that there are deer everywhere. On the busy streets of Montrose Road to on the side of Georgia Avenue, you can see deer everywhere, and they're in large numbers. And if there are deer, in your backyard, they are dropping ticks, and those ticks are going to basically climb up, find a blade of grass, and wait for the next host to bite and get blood from. And that most likely is going to be your pet. However, it could also be you as well, and so we all have to be careful when it comes to ticks. In our climate, with the exception of the occasional having a really cold snow or having just really, really cold weather, the ticks don't tend to die off very well, and the deer are around all year round. And most importantly, in the spring and in the fall are when the most infective stages of the tick are around. So people say, well, I stopped in November. Well, in October, November through January, that's deer breeding season. That's when they're out in full force, and that's when you don't want to stop. So having them on a flea and tick preventative year-round is also extremely important. Lastly, when we talk about the fact that you cannot get Lyme disease from your pet, that's not really possible. However, if you don't have a preventative on your dog, who is most likely to be the one bringing the tick inside, and that tick doesn't die and falls off, it can climb on you, me, your child, and now we're all at risk for having Lyme disease. Lastly, going back to the heartworm issue, cats don't tend to get adult heartworms, but what we have found is that the late larval stages will die off, and your cats will get asthmatic or respiratory symptoms, and what we might think is feline asthma may be contributed to the fact that they have contracted heartworm disease. And so we recommend that our cats be on a heartworm, flea and tick preventative as well. Even if they are on the first floor of a building or they go on a screen-in porch, it's very important that they stay on preventative as well. If you have any other questions, feel free to visit us at the website below or also at the phone number. Thank you.